The bishops in their letter are quite clear on their stance over Europe and leading people thinking about Europe. And that's to do with our history, the good and the not so good history that we have in Europe. And they say that our history is an enduring argument to build structures of trust and cooperation between the nations of Europe. UKIP doesn't agree with that, does it?
Oh, we don't most definitely agree with that. Fundamentally, our whole relationship that we went into before Europe was even born, and that was the EEC, and that was based on trust and trade and a friendly relationship. There was no mention of any political union. There was no mention of this plan to build a federal superstate. This EU has now got its own anthem. It's got its own police force, it's got its own navy, it's got aspirations to have an army. We are a star on its flag, that's all, and we're paying dearly for this. This one size fits all is destroying the Europe that everybody talks about, these multicultures, how they're different when you go on holiday and you can go and taste all these different cultures when you go to Italy or France or Germany or Spain or anywhere in the EU, but we're walking blindly into something that wants to wipe that out, level it all out, and make it a one size fits all. Everything's the same, everyone's the same currency, same flag, same everything. We didn't go into that. We're better and stronger as good neighbours, trading neighbours, and trading with the rest of the world. This political union is something that's been dreamed up and been drip, drip, drip. Some call it the bloodless revolution. We've had 2 world wars to stop this happening, and now we see that there's a grand master plan of the European who want effectively an empire.
But if we were to pull out of Europe, those people who are investing in the West Midlands, car companies and so on, who are doing so because they can then favourably trade in the European Union, they would pull out their investment and put it into a country that's in the EU, wouldn't they?
No, it's nonsense. I think Nissan have just come out and said it wouldn't make any difference. There are many companies, yes, they want to stay in the EU because, as we talked about, they're able to move their finances around. They're able to, financially, it helps them. But we have some of the best workforces in Europe for manufacturing, and that's where we need to move back to. Being blackmailed by big companies saying they're going to do this and do this, that they won't. Because at the end of the day, this is a big market, it's a rich country, and we in fact, we have a deficit with EU, not a surplus, where Germany has a surplus with the UK. It's not going to stop sending its cars or making its cars. Those companies will, yes, initially there'll be a bit of a backlash and somebody chucking the toys out the pram saying, well, we're off and whatever. But at the end of the day, this is a market that you want to be in. If you're in big business, you're going to want to trade in the UK and you're going to want to make things here, build things here, because it's about relationships. We're a big trading nation, we always have, but we're not just looking at Europe, we look at the rest of the world as well, which is a growing economy, which we've got to be involved in. And surely if we're going to swap our economy from, which is heavily on finance at the moment, and start to reintroduce manufacturing to get the balance there, then we need to be looking out to the rest of the, to the Commonwealth, to India, to Canada and Australia. And trading doesn't mean you've got to be part of a political union. We have our own. This is the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta, for Christ's sake, and we have been out in the world. Most people, most countries have got parts of the Magna Carta built into their democracy. So we shouldn't look in, we should be looking out and be brave about it, and be brave and have the courage to go out there in the world, instead of saying, well, we've got to stay in this small little group, otherwise we're going to be swallowed up by the rest of the world. No, we won't. We can go out there. We just need people from Westminster and the MPs and to give businesses the encouragement to get out there and not be scared or worried about some political arrangement. Politicians don't make business. People make business.
But we're a very small island, and part of our we like to think we're a big empire, but we know we're not any longer. But part of our protection in Europe, I mean, there are choices to be made, aren't there? The three superpowers, China, the United States and Russia. And Vladimir Putin is flying his jets over Cornwall and Scotland at the moment. Could we really go it alone?
No, because we're part of NATO. It was NATO that brought the peace and kept the peace in Europe, even though some people say the EU did. No, it was NATO. And being part of NATO is what's kept the peace in the world for a long time. And we need to reinforce our commitment to that. At the moment, we don't meet our commitment, and that is to spend 2% of our GDP on defence. Now, defence doesn't mean we've got to go around bombing everywhere, but you've got to have the capability to respond and be seen as being able to defend yourself. So I don't think we're too small at all. Being part of NATO is the same thing as being part of the EU, except on a worldwide scale. Instead of thinking about this bloc, trade with them, brilliant. Politically, no, we have two different systems. Completely, even our law is completely different to theirs. So we are different. We've always been different. I'm not saying the empire was a long time ago, but it doesn't mean that we should be less confident than we have been, and we should be more proud and encourage ourselves to be more prouder and be braver that we can go it alone.